morning, Fellowship of Faith.
Good morning, onliners.
Yes. My name is Maya.
I'm Kyle.
You guys may have seen us a couple weeks back, and we are here because Tina and Justin are not here, so we are stepping in, you know.
B-team saving the day
saving the day.
Again.
Just saying, that's happened a lot, the last few weeks, so.
I think we need to change our name from the B team to the A team.
We might need to renegotiate, the pre and post game. So
yes.
We've actually talked about as well doing our own show, so let us know if you'd be interested in watching
that. Like a mid-service show, just to recap.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Something
Just
that,
right after the sermon, as the band's, coming up. We can do that.
Just hop on,
That'd be perfect, yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
I'm great. Any big plans for the holiday?
Yeah, I'm actually flying to visit my family tomorrow. My family lives in Colorado. That's where I grew up, so I'm flying out.
Shout out Colorado.
Shout out to Colorado. We love you. I am flying out to visit them for the week. So,
awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited because we get to do, we're going to go to Rocky Mountain National Park. We're going to do a lot of different things that I didn't really do as a kid, even though I lived there my whole life. And also, too, 4th of July is always a really fun holiday for my family. We have a neighborhood pool across the street, and we always cook hundreds of hot dogs for all the people who come over. So we've got, a whole assembly line. So my parents are going to go, buy all the supplies today.
Excellent.
So it's just,
good.
It's really fun. All my extended family comes over. It's a really nice time.
What's the weather like out there right now?
It's interesting because normally it's pretty dry, pretty hot, 90 degrees. But this summer, actually, they've gotten rain, almost every day. It's completely green. I'm like, can you send some of that here? Because it's completely dead here.
Yes.
But we do have rain today here, which is fantastic.
Yes.
So.
Well, we were supposed to have some, our little town does a parade and fireworks and everything today, so those might get...
Oh, yeah, that's a bummer.
And the flip side is a couch day, so...
That's true.
Yeah.
What do you got going on this week for 4th of July?
Like I said, that was today. I got to work tomorrow, and then we're off Tuesday.
Okay.
I think we're going to maybe go see a movie on Tuesday.
Nice. What you going to go see? Do you know?
The kids want to see Spider-Man.
Got it. I've
and
heard good
Transformers.
Things. Makes sense.
Yeah.
I've heard good things.
They should combine.
Have it be one movie, or
yes.
should have it play overlaps.
Yes.
We could do that. That would work well. Yeah.
Yes. And that's it. And then I got to work Saturday to make up for the holiday.
Yeah.
No time off.
No time off. It's like you said a couple weeks ago. Your kids were like, "What do you do for summer vacation?" It doesn't exist. Sorry.
None. Yes.
Yeah. Guys, thanks for joining us this morning. Let us know you're here by texting 855-465-2720. Let us know you are here. If you are needing prayer as well, you can text prayer to that same number, and we'll receive your prayer requests, and our elders will be reaching out to you, asking what they can pray for and just how we can walk alongside you. Or if you have things you want to celebrate or things you're struggling with, please reach out. We love to hear from you and connect with what you've got going on in your life.
Yes.
So... what else do we got going on today? Dave is out of town today. Well, actually not out of town, but he's taking Sunday off. So
hey,
Todd's running the show.
He needs it.
Yeah, he does. He's well-deserved time away. Todd is running the show this morning. I think that'll be good. He's doing another week of James this morning, which is that's a book where I read every time, and I'm like, ooh, that cuts deep. It's a rough one. So, but it's good stuff. So
it's a good backside to John.
Absolutely, yeah. Yes. It's a definitely a different perspective. But we got Todd this morning. No communion this morning, so no need to get those wafers and wine and all that. No communion this morning. Wafers. Yeah. So just a nice Sunday morning here. We got lots of rain. It's a holiday weekend. We do have pie. I had breakfast pie, which was fantastic.
Where was that at?
I ate pie for breakfast. It wasn't actually a breakfast.
I missed the breakfast
No,
pie.
It was not like a breakfast themed pie. It was just that was my breakfast was pie.
It's funny that Dave requests pie and has the day off.
I saw
and
that
gets no pie.
in E-News. I'm like, you want pie? You're not going to be here.
Right.
Cool. So
more pie for us.
Did you get some pie this morning?
I had Oreo pie.
Nice.
And apple pie.
Very nice.
And a cupcake.
Perfect.
And then a cupcake to back up that cupcake.
And then are you going to get something after service?
Of course.
Good call. I had I think a strawberry rhubarb pie for
I've
my
never
first
had
one.
that.
I thought it was cherry, and so I was like, that's not cherry, but that just shows how little I know about pie.
I could go for some pumpkin pie.
I am not a fan of pumpkin pie. I don't like the texture.
I get that.
It's too spongy.
What about a lemon meringue?
That's okay.
Gotcha.
It's not my favorite, but that's better for me. And
What's
I like
your favorite?
pumpkin flavor. I really like cherry pie or apple pie. I know
apple
it's very
pie.
just
warmed
very
up with
simple.
some ice cream.
Oh,
so goodness.
Good.
Yes.
Chocolate cream pie is good. Pecan pie is really good.
We could talk about pies for a while.
We could do just a separate show where we talk about pies, but we are getting kicked off the air. So enjoy the service this morning. We'll touch base with you guys afterwards, and thanks for worshiping with us.
Thank you.
let's stand and sing. To life, only you can, only you can. You set me free from every chain, you fill my heart with songs of praise. Only you can. Jesus, you're the only reason that I'm even breathing. I am wide awake. My heart beats only for your glory. My hands reach up for you to hold me. My soul sings, Father, you are holy. My feet dance to your rhythm, to your rhythm. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your You left the glory of your throne to bring this throne way back home. Only you can, only you can. You give me love, you give me life, you keep me dancing through the night. Only you can, only you can. My heart beats only for your glory. My hands reach up for you to hold me. My soul sings, Father, you are holy. My feet dance to your rhythm, to your rhythm. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. 'Cause every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Here we go, come on. Jesus, you're the only reason that I'm even breathing. I am wide awake. You move me, your freedom is consuming. I feel you rushing through me. I'll never be the same. My heart beats only for your glory. My hands reach up for you to hold me. My soul sings, Father, you are holy. My feet dance to your rhythm, to your rhythm. Every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. 'Cause every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. 'Cause every beat is calling, every beat is calling out your name. Welcome to worship, everyone. One, two. Come on, let's tune it up. We're gonna sing it out.
think you can all take a seat. Let's get here for the band. Come on, on a rainy day like today, isn't it great to come in and kind of get that juice, I think maybe it is. Thank you for the rain too, Lord. Thank you everyone for being here today, and greetings to those people that are watching online. Dave sent out an email earlier, a couple days ago, about how it's Pi Day today. And at Fellowship of Faith, we do things weird. So it's not 314 like Pi Day, it's some exaggerated wording of Pi. But anyways, I'm going to try to work through these messages and through these announcements so you guys can get back out to the pie, because I know that's why you really came. So the announcements for today, if you're here or watching from home, if you can text here to that number, 855-465-2720. And if you need prayer, type prayer. Somebody will respond to you, and we have a team of elders who get these prayers requests, and we pray them over the week and reach out to you. And just know that when you say and ask for a prayer, it is being heard. Next, there's 5 ways to give. And I don't even want to look at these icons and try to, I guess it's your cash, email, computer, cell phone, and bank. So basically, you can have all the varieties of ways of giving. Okay, so I think it's a bank. I don't know. Anyways, I view this part is a part of worship, is part of worship too. We're worshiping God with our voices, with our bodies being here, with our resources. And so I hope for you, it's like for me, that this is a time of celebration. So then next, I want to get up to announcement. There's Fiesta Days coming up, and I got to give it up for Fiesta Days. Okay. And what's great about it, it's free. Let me put my glasses on. So 2 weeks from today, on July 16th, at 4:30, there's a Fellowship of Faith is having a meetup at the Fiesta Days. At 4:30, you can get there earlier, make your rounds through it, but at 4:30, if you want to make your way towards the music stage at Peterson Park, they're playing, I guess, is Laura Bell, a country singer, and Sparks Fly, the Taylor Swift experience. So if you couldn't afford the real Taylor Swift, this is a great deal. And then there's fireworks after the concert and everything, so it's an experience. It's not the real thing. Just so if there's inclement weather, you could check the FOF web page, Facebook page. And if you need any more information on this, you can see Shar at the Welcome Center. She'll give you some more information. So I want to thank everyone that's putting that all together, and hopefully you all show up there. Now, we're going to transition into, we have a special guest here today, and being that it's the 4th of July weekend, I think it's very appropriate. And I'm going to bring Bob Marchese up to the stage and really have him lead into this, because he's a little bit more suited and has more of a background in it. So let's give it up for Bob.
First thing to figure out is how to turn this on. I work with a group in church called Mission Go. And our focus is really to look at areas that we can help out in the community, locally in the community. And one of the areas that we thought we could do some work with is in the area of veterans, helping out veterans. So today I have 2 people talking about programs that are offered to us that we could help volunteer in and also help train. I'm going to ask the 2 of them to come up at this time, Bob Dorn and Jen Miller. Before I give it to them, though, I have a story to tell about one of our members at church who, on her own, decided that she was going to get women together to knit and quilt blankets for veterans, for disabled veterans, and to give them these blankets to them at the VA hospital. Unfortunately, she was not able to get into the VA hospital to give these. They wouldn't allow her to. Now, some of you know the person I'm talking about, Maria Faulkner. And Maria doesn't take no for an answer. There's just no way. And so she decided, okay, if I can't go into the hospital, I'll wait in the parking lot. And I will wait for a veteran to go in, and I will walk up to them and hand them their blanket. And she did this. And I think it would be great to talk to Maria individually to get some of the experiences that she had with them. They're awesome. I mean, the Holy Spirit really worked through Maria through this whole project of hers, and it continues. You can talk to her. There's a way to go on our website to if you want to connect with them and to make blankets for them. But she did. I think we ought to give it up for her because she's doing a wonderful job. We can do the video now.
My name is Robert Dorn. I'm the Senior Vice Commander of the American Legion Post 171, and we're located in Crystal Lake, Illinois, which is just northwest of Chicago. American Legion Post 171 is here today in Crystal Lake with our event called Veterans for Veterans Families and First Responders or Blue Families. We've gathered 40 different resources to allow veterans to make contacts with people who can help them with their PTS struggle and the struggles with their family and allow them to move on with their life. If we can help one through the Be the One organization, that's our goal and our mission, and that's why we continue on. And we're grateful for the American Legion to support us in that effort. This is the easiest sale I've ever had in my life. I picked up the phone, I said, I'm with the American Legion, I want to help veterans, and there's a huge suicide epidemic within the veteran community and also the first responder, and everybody said, yes, I want to be there, I want to be there, I want to be there. And the reason they told me yes, because they want to help, but they didn't know how.
Hi, my name is Charlie Morgan. I'm the commander of the American Legion Post here in Crystal Lake. It's the William Chandler Peterson Post 171. I think people kind of take the veteran that's there kind of for granted. I mean, when they see a veteran, they'll acknowledge them, you know, thank you for your service and that, but that's pretty much as far as it goes. So I'd like people to aware that these individuals are suffering, whether they're female veterans or male veterans, they're suffering, and their families are suffering. And so I want to bring awareness. That's the big thing here, is awareness, and to show that there is help out there. It's just the 22 a day that have taken their lives, 30,000 since 9/11. Those figures should not be. And so I think that you have to be that one person. You have to stand up and say, no, you know, it's going to be me. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to help you.
If you help one, you help not only that one, but you helped his whole family, the whole string of programs. So that's the whole idea of trying to reach those people. So that's how we measure our success. And sometimes you'll never know. You know, I'm a Christian, and I can remember having meetings in the past, and I invited 20 people, and then 3 people showed up, and I would be angry. And finally, the Holy Spirit said, hey, if I wanted them there, they'd be there. So that's the same thing here. We make the opportunity available. We try to make the contacts we can, and if we can affect 1, we can affect 2, that would be awesome. So that's our goal, and those are our missions.
Thank you very much. As you can see, I'm with the American Legion, and I wanted to say thanks to Bob Marchese and his group to allow us here to come and talk about a program that was near and dear to my heart and also to Jen's heart. The Legion has a program called Be the One. The number one focus over everything the American Legion does, which is a lot, is this Be the One program. But let me give you 3 numbers to start with. 22, you heard that before, 7,000, and then 30,000. 22 is the number of veterans that we lose every day. And you'll hear other numbers. You'll hear lower numbers like 17, and then you'll hear numbers like 44, because they're finding out that people are taking their own lives through, say, drugs or alcohol. That's not counted as a suicide, but it was in fact. Whatever it is, whether it's 1 or 2, it's way too many. So the Be the One program is essentially an awareness program and a call to action. So Be the One, there's 3 parts to it. Be the One is be the one to ask a question. If you have a friend that's struggling and you know it, most people, their friends, they can tell whether it's going on, or the family knows it's going on. Be the one to ask the question, how you doing, John? Secondly, be the one to listen. That's hard for me. Most men want to solve the problem. What you have to do is just shut up and listen. Thirdly, be the one to be a navigator, to say, look, I know there's help out there. Here's where you want to go. Here's the issue. People don't know where to go to get help. There's a organization that Hines Hospital has a suicide communication contact person. And I was talking to her about the VA and how they handle the suicide issue. And she said, you know that number 22? Out of the 22, only 6 belong to the VA. Out of the 6, only 3 belong to the mental health. So if you go back to the 22 number, that means 70% of the veterans that are out there are swinging in the wind. They don't know where to go and who to do and who to talk to. And that's where we come in the program. The real question is, why am I standing in front of a church filled with Christians? Because Christ is the solution to the issue. All the things that he gives us, like what Jen's going to talk about, the VA, horse therapy, Allen Force, Veterans Path to Hope, those are all tools that Christ gave us to help. But the actual solution is Christ. And I'm going to tell you just a real short story. There's a gentleman by the name of Chad Robichaud. Chad Robichaud is a Marine, and if you're familiar with Marines, they have an elite force called Force Recon. These are the elite of the elite. He was in Afghanistan 8 times. The 8th time his PTSD got so bad he couldn't fulfill his mission. So he had to get out. But he kept stuffing this issue down. So the way he handled it is he became an MMA fighter, champion 3 years in a row. Still could not beat the PTSD. Finally got to the point where he said, I'm going to end it. He went into his closet, ready to do it, and he said, who's going to find me? And he said, my 15-year-old son. He said, I can't do it. So he backed off. His wife said, you know, Chad, you need to go see somebody at my church. So he did. So being a good Marine, he had a plan. You do A, B, C, D, done, taken care of. He gave that plan to the person he talked to at the church. That person looked at it for a little bit, handed it back to him and said, you're going to fail. Here's a guy that doesn't fail. When you're that kind of an elite person, you don't fail. He finally accepted Christ, and now he started a thing called Mighty Oaks that helps veterans. And with the Christianity background, the Marine Corps hired him to travel around the world to talk to guys getting out of boot camp about PTSD and what faith has to do with the program. That's why we're here. We can be the ambassador. We can be the one to point them to Christ, because that's essentially the solution to the issue. I'm going to turn this over to Jen, and she can tell you what she's doing in the program. You are lucky to have this woman as part of your congregation. She is an expert in this field.
Thank you. That's an awesome introduction. Thank you, thank you. We talk about veteran suicide. We talk about veterans. I was in the Army for 30 years. I know veterans. I know their families. And it's so easy to just say, oh, it's just veterans with PTSD who have suicidal thoughts. But the truth is, suicide is within our community. It is here within our congregation. It is in our high schools. It is in McHenry County. You talk about 22 veterans a day. Another fact that startles me, 20% of high school students across the country have suicidal thoughts. 20%, 1 in 5. That's a lot of high school kids who are struggling. 9% of those high school students actually have made an attempt at suicide. And when you put it in that context, these kids are young. It has nothing to do with PTSD. It has nothing to do with battle scars and bombs going off. It has to do with depression. It has to do with loneliness. It has to do with feeling helpless, out of control, or having no control over their situation. It has to do with low self-esteem, being very vulnerable at times. And we've all been there. We have all felt lonely at some point in time. I mean, and if you haven't, please raise your hand, and I'd love to know what the solution is. We all have questioned our own self-worth at some point in time. And again, if you haven't, please share the secret with us. But this epidemic is in our community. And this is a program that I am a part of, the ASSIST program. It is created by LivingWorks, a Canadian company that has done a lot of studies on suicide and how to address it. And the big thing that this course does for us as a community, it helps address the stigma, and it helps give you the tools to be the one that Bob was talking about, to be the one to ask, to be the one to listen, and to be the one to navigate. The big thing that we face just as people is we assume that someone else is going to take care of our friends and our loved ones. It's the church's job to take care. If someone's depressed, they'll go talk to their clergy member. Or it's my healthcare professional that's going to take it. Or I'll go tell my doctor and they'll make things better. But the truth is, when someone is in that awful spot of darkness that they're feeling so alone and so unconnected, it is their family, it is their friends, it is their coworkers, it is their community that reaches out to them. And unfortunately, like Bob alluded to with the VA, that there are veterans that aren't taking advantage and are just floating in the wind, there are people within our community who feel that they have no one to talk to. I mean, and that could be your neighbor, that could be your brother, that could be anybody that feels that they have no one to talk to when they're in that spot. So this ASSIST class helps give us the tools to recognize some of those warning signs and to feel confident in asking about suicide. It's such a scary word to say, and it is one of the most difficult questions that you will ever ask. But just by asking someone if they're having thoughts of suicide opens a door and helps relieve a huge weight that somebody is listening and somebody notices and somebody cares. And even if the answer is no, you haven't overstepped any bounds. All you've done is showed that you cared, showed that you're noticing something isn't right, and that you care, and then you move on and you help make it better. You help the person feel less alone, less hopeless. And this ASSIST class will help give you those tools. It starts with understanding some of the stigma surrounding suicide so that you yourself become more comfortable in talking about it. Because if you're approaching someone in distress and you're all nervous and shaking, you're not really going to do a whole lot of good. You're just going to make them more nervous or more withdrawn. So it'll help give you confidence. It'll help open that conversation. There is no wrong way to show somebody that you care. There is no wrong way to address suicide. But there are better ways to do it than others that can help open the door and help improve that flow of conversation. And then in terms of the navigation piece that Bob mentioned, we're not healthcare professionals. We are not doctors. We are not even, we're just friends and family and people who care. So I like to think of us as we are the lifeguards. And for those of you that are my generation, you all are David Hasselhoff and you're Pamela Anderson and you're running across the beach and you are going to save somebody safe for now. David Hasselhoff never performed surgery on any of the people he pulled out of the ocean. Pamela Anderson maybe kissed them and that was enough to jumpstart their heart. But I mean, they just were lifeguards. They kept people safe for now. And this ASSIST program will give you the tools to keep somebody safe for now and help them get the help, the professional help that they need, whether it be through the church, through their faith, through a mental health professional, through their doctor, just maybe having them reconnect with family. Whatever the help they need, you are keeping them safe for now. So for those of you that are out there, I encourage you to sign up for this class. Bob has very generously helped put this together for us, and the church is very generously letting us use their space and everything that goes with that. It is 2 days. It's an in-depth course. I mean, and you will work, you will think, you will be forced to have difficult conversations, even and if you're not comfortable sharing them with the group, you're going to still have difficult thoughts in your head that you're going to have to face regarding your own thoughts and feelings towards suicide and how much you are willing to do to help somebody. But the bottom line is everybody can ask. That makes a huge difference. And then the tools to keep somebody safe for now. CEUs are available for this class. If any of you are in a profession that you need CEUs, you can get CEUs for this class. And it is also open to anybody 16 or older. So for those of you that work with children, I mean, I know some of the Boulder kids are here in the audience. This is something that you guys can do too and make a difference and take into the community, because it's not just veterans, it is everybody that is here. I mean, Bob shared with me on the way in as we were talking that McHenry County Health so far this year has had 21 suicides, right? Was that the? Correct. Since January, 21 people in McHenry County have died by suicide. And just think, if we know the warning signs and can just ask and help keep somebody safe for now, throw them that life preserver, what a difference we've made. What a huge impact we've had in our community. So I encourage you to take the class if you can. If you have any other questions, come talk to us. Bob and I will be around. And thank you very much for your time. Okay. You want this back? Take it with me.
You're taking the mic. Anyway, okay. So thanks again. What a fantastic opportunity. I want to take a moment and just let everyone get up for a second, stretch out, greet each other, with a hearty handshake, a hug if you feel comfortable, and just greet each other and welcome them. I think I saw people go all the way in the back there. That's some really dedicated handshaking. Thank you. It's hard to follow, Bob, Jen's, but I think, those are the subjects that we need to address here, and I'm glad that we have a church like Fellowship of Faith that allows us to talk about that and not hide. Our churches should be where we show weaknesses and we can feel comfortable being weak and hurt and damaged, because this is a healing place. And as I start with this message, I asked Dave that if I could talk about James. And as you get into the studying and preparing messages for it, it gets tough, because James it's hard-hitting, it's good, but it's tough. And just like we're all out there, last week we talked about trials, and if I asked for a raise of hands and said, how many of you started a trial Monday? I'm sure I raised my hand. We're all walking into trials. But this week, we're going to talk about, I think, one of the more controversial passages of James. It's James 2, 14 through 26, if you want to bring it up on the slide. And I'm going to have everyone read this because I think when you say it out loud, you own it more. So what good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing to physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith, I have deeds. Show me your faith without deeds, and I will show you my faith by my deeds. You believe that there is one God. Good. Even the demons believe that and shudder. You foolish person, do you want evidence that faith without deeds is useless? Was not our father Abraham considered righteous for what he did when he offered his son Isaac on the altar? You see that his faith and his actions were working together, and his faith was made complete by what he did. And the scripture was filled that says, Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteousness, and he was called God's friend. You see that a person is considered righteous by what they do and not by faith alone. In the same way, was not even Rahab the prostitute considered for what she did when she gave a lodging to the spies and sent them off to a different direction. As the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without deeds is dead. I don't know if you read that like me, it seems pretty harsh, doesn't it? Actually, Martin Luther, I don't know if I mentioned this last week, wanted to remove the book of James from the Bible for pretty much this passage because he was concerned that faith would be confused with works, meaning, we had to work our way to salvation, and that faith was the first path and works did that. So, I think it is ironic, James, as I mentioned last week, was the younger brother of Jesus, and how Jesus' impact and his revolutionary impact so many years ago is still impacting us today. And James, his brother, didn't fall far from him, and his letters today are causing this much controversy. So, it's as I approach this, I'm going to ask for grace and patience, like I always do, and hopefully you'll join me on this journey. So, one of the things I like about summer is the opportunity to ride my bike. I grew up riding my bike around the neighborhood, delivering papers to stores, to games, whatever. It was my mode of transportation. I think I spent more time many summers riding my bike pedaling than I did walking. I don't know if you can agree with that. Then I learned to drive, and my biking days slowly disappeared. Although that was when gas was 40 cents a gallon. Now biking may be a good thing to try. So as I drove, and I realized that I wasn't biking anymore, I still needed to get my cardio in because I was an athlete. And so the next best thing was running. So I took up running. And I know that there are a lot of you out there that run, and I admire you for that, because you actually run because you love it. How crazy is that? I didn't run because I enjoyed it, and you could have verified that by the expressions on my face as I was running, But I did it because I needed to stay in shape for the sports I was playing. Fast forward, 2000 June, I went in and had ACL surgery. And so if anyone's had knee surgery, you know that it's a long recovery. And so ACL surgery is about a 9-month recovery. And for 9 months, I couldn't run. And it was scary because, you don't know if you're going to run, the pain, you don't know if you're going to get through it. But after I was able to run, I ran. And, for a few short moments, I actually enjoyed it because I thought I never was going to run again. And that, enthusiasm about it. But shortly after that, I got into this running because I had to. my runner's face returned, and the aches and pains really came back. So about a year after my surgery, I had my last visit with my orthopedic that did the surgery. He was happy with the progress I made. And he said that I had fully recovered. But as he was leaving, he said, you only have so many miles in your legs. And I think he was referring to my running. Thanked me, shut the door, and I'm sitting there going, oh, thanks. What do you do with that, Is it my next run going to be the run? Is it 10th run? It was, there was no specifics about that. And I'm sitting there, so what am I going to do with that? So I continued to run, and as I got older, the wear and tear on my legs, as a result of running, just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And after a few years, I realized I couldn't run anymore. Well, I mean, I could. If somebody stole my bike, I'd chase after them, of course, but I wasn't really running anymore. And so what did I do? I turned back to my childhood love of biking. So I went to the Walmart, bought a mid-level bike, weighed about a ton, big wheels. So, after I started riding, and, you ride, but it was never really that enjoyable, so much to the fact that I'd be on the trail and I'd see these cyclists drive by, and I call them cyclists because, they had spandex on, the helmets, aerodynamic gloves, shoes and stuff like that, and I'm working up a hill, and they're laughing. They're talking to each other, laughing. I think one of them had the feet up on the handlebars. That's how much he was enjoying it, okay? So I'm sitting there going, I'm not enjoying it. How come they're enjoying it? And so the first thing I thought was, it's the bike. Of course it's the bike. So I went to our local bike store, and I invested in a entry-level road bike, okay? And I'll tell you the truth, you lift that up, it was light. So I thought all my troubles were solved. So I got riding it again, and I realized that, it was better than the Walmart bike, but still there was something missing. So thinking, like any guy, it's got to be I need to accessorize, So I started adding things like new bike tape, helmets and pedals that you can clip into, aero bars, and I thought that was, and I kept riding, and still there was something missing. I still saw these, cyclists riding by, laughing, cheering, having fun. And I was having fun because I was outside and everything, but there was still something missing. And I then said, well, again, it has to be the bike, So I went to the bike store about 6 years ago and got a newer bike. This was carbon fiber. It was light. It was so light that when I put my 2 water bottles on it, I doubled the weight. So I started riding that, and I rode it for a while, and it was enjoyable. I was able to go faster. I was able to really pedal easier. But my knees started to hurt, and my butt hurt after some long rides. I'm sure you all can agree with that. So the bike shop owner suggested, he said, Todd, why don't you get your bike fitted for you? And I thought, well, it fits me. I sit on it. I can pedal it. It fits me. She goes, no. There's a lot of technology involved in getting your bike to fit for you. So they took all these measurements. They had plumb lines. They had, no wind tunnels, of course, but that would have been cool. And so they aligned the bike. And actually what ended up happening was, they were aligning me with my bike and the bike with me. And so I got out thinking, how much is that going to make a difference? These small changes to seat height, to pedal length, and whatever. I got out my first ride, I'm like, it made a difference. Okay. It was like, wow. And I started to enjoy the ride. I started to get out. I wanted to ride. I started to do it. Thank you for indulging me in some biking stories, but I'm betting everyone out here, if I said gardening may do that to you, quilting, reading, we all have that thing that we do it because we enjoy doing it. And we continue to do it because it brings us pleasure. I know video games do it for some. Again, I'm sure that if you thought really deeply and you look back and you say, this is my thing. So, but I also know, too, that those things change over time. And as you age and, maybe seasons and winter comes, I can't bike. There's some summers when I bike a lot, some others I don't. But you know what? It doesn't mean I'm not a cyclist, okay? The amount of activity doesn't define whether I'm a cyclist. I'm a cyclist because that's what defines me. I cycle because it brings me joy. I cycle because it brings me fulfillment. I cycle because I'm a cyclist. So I know I talked about biking, and I want to keep going on with this analogy because a lot of times when I put things in perspective, like James is, you look at this, it's hard to, so I try to put it in ways that I can understand it. And I think the main message James is trying to get across through this is that deeds and actions should naturally flow from your faith. I'm a cyclist. I love cycling. So what do? I cycle. Okay. And that's a very simplistic way, and I know maybe not as theological, but I put things in my perspective. In Luke 9:23, Jesus says, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me. So I think Jesus here is saying you need to take action. Picking up your cross, denying me. Those are not things that are passive. Those are active processes. I also look at Peter in John 18:15. 3 times Peter denied Christ. But their accusers, if you read what the accusers were saying, they were saying that, we saw you with Jesus. We know that you've been hanging around. They saw him in the garden. If you look at that, it wasn't like Peter was just, name dropping, hey, I hang with JC, we're all friends. They knew it because they saw him with him, walking with him, actions. And then I started to think about Peter's denial, and it's always easy for us many years in the future to say, I never would have done that. I never would have done it, Christ, but we're looking backwards. We know how the story ends, so I don't think it's a fair question that you could say with honesty. But I started to think in my life, if I was being accused of this being a disciple of Jesus today, would there be enough evidence in my life to prove it that it was? In a court of law, with a jury of my peers, could I present enough evidence that the jury convict me that I was a disciple of Jesus? And, I want to break down how that is and how I look at it because of my analytical brain. So there are 2 major standards for evidence. And we've all watched, who's watched Legal, Judge Judy, Judge Wapner, we all have that. So this is not the people's court, but... So there's the first level of evidence is a preponderance of evidence, okay? And so this type of evidence, if I present it, would be that there was enough evidence presented that it was more likely to be true than not. So think of it like 51%. It's like there's just a little bit more than yes or no. So there's a little bit of confidence that is. Now, there's the other standard, which is beyond the reasonable doubt. And I think anyone's watched any type of, celebrity type of trial. It's like, it's the highest standard of proof. In this, they have to show that there is no other explanation for this but guilty, meaning that there's no oops or options. There's no other possibility that could be deduced from the evidence. And so now, again, we talk about what type of evidence would be required to get these decisions. And I think about myself and if I was accused of being a follower of Jesus. First off, there's testimonial evidence. You call witnesses. They may tell stories, they may corroborate, they may support that you are, or in my case, I'm a follower of Jesus. There's real evidence, like physical evidence, like DNA evidence, or blood stains, or footprints, or something like that are present. Okay, that's real evidence or physical evidence. There's documentary evidence, like recordings or any type of documents that could place me in association with, being a follower of Christ. And then there's demonstrative evidence. This is evidence that, would support an eyewitness testimony with photographs, video, because when you have a witness out there, they're explaining what they saw, but that could be cross-examined and proven. But if you have a picture and say, this is what I saw, that's usually enough to convince you, or convince the jury of that. So I could sit here and try to demonstrate my faith through these standards, but it would really be embarrassing for me. So I'm going to take the easy way out, and I'm going to go back to my cycling example. And I'm asking, if I was accused of being a cyclist, not how good I was of a cyclist, but am I a cyclist? I'm going to let you, the jury out there, decide if I could present enough evidence. So I would start my defense by calling my wife. She's out there somewhere. Jenny, you want to stand up? This is my first witness, my wife. And I'm hoping she's not a hostile witness, okay, but we'll see. Okay, so Mrs. Wilgos, may I call you Jenny? You've known the defendant for 11 years now. Would you say that your husband is a cyclist? Absolutely. Okay. So why would you say that? Is there anything in particular you can come up with?
Yeah, I was going to say, your cats. Yeah, there's every chance there is to bike your own.
Okay.
You're looking for an opportunity anytime you can go.
Okay. Thank you. Have a seat. I'm trying to mix, preaching with lawyering. I'm not good at either. So what physical evidence would I show you? And if, basing what Jenny said, if I took you to my garage and I opened up the garage, first thing you'd notice that, if you can show the picture of the bike, you'd notice in my garage that I have more bikes than cars. I have enough helmets and gear to fit the whole neighborhood with biking. And then, if you look down at my bike, I'm going to turn the laser pointer on and see if I can point to this. You can see, the tires have some wear on it, right? If you touch my chain, it wouldn't be fresh oil, it'd be dirty oil. You can look at my handlebars and notice there's some wear spots on it, okay? My brakes aren't new. And I guess if you sample DNA from the water bottle, you may be able to trace it to my DNA. Okay. So this would be the physical evidence. So the next would be documentary evidence. And so, if you could go to the next slide. So there's a Strava app, and this is an app that I track when I go bike riding. And you can see that it says I've done 669 activities. And this is, talking about a ride I did in 2023. Okay. So here's documentary evidence. If you go through and you can look at my route, you could say, here, I did that. And if I rested my case here with this information, and I asked you as the jury for a raise of hands, would this be enough information for you and evidence to, one, say that you can convict me with a preponderance of evidence that I'm a cyclist? And if I'd ask you to raise your hand, what would you say out there? No, nobody. Oh, okay. So I convinced some of you. Now, if I asked you, would there be, without a reasonable doubt that I'm a cyclist, would there be enough evidence for that? And betting that probably a few people. And if I said, who wants me to finish and get some pie? I'm sure everyone's going to raise. So anyways, this is at the point in the trial where the doors would burst open and someone would come running in and go, I've got this evidence to show you. And I would show the judge, and the judge would show this picture, okay? If you show the next picture. There, okay. You see me on a bike riding. There's evidence that I am riding a bike. So now if I ask the same question, would this be enough evidence to, without a shadow of a doubt, can really affirm that I'm a cyclist? And I think many of you would agree that this was it, what I'm trying to get to, and if you look to this as how I was able to present this, and what you need to know is that I was able to find these examples within seconds, okay? Easy to find. And why was it easy to find? Because I love cycling, and it's true. So I want to bring this back to James. And I have to ask myself, is there enough evidence in my life demonstrating my faith in Jesus? Can I find the evidence as quickly as I found this? If I could, would it be enough for a preponderance of evidence? Or with a beyond a reasonable doubt amount of evidence? Or would the case be dismissed and said there isn't enough evidence? And if you put the next slide up, I like Tony Evans speaks on James, and he says, it is possible to have a useless faith that's not accomplishing anything in life. If you say you trust God, it should affect your feet. Once you become a Christian by faith alone, your faith has to get married to your works. Then what you believe about eternity will become alive and real in your history. And what I like about this is history, okay? Because I know many of us sometimes feel, like I said, through seasons. But it's kind of like a lifetime achievement award when you look at it this way. So in John 15:1-2, Jesus says, I am the true vine, and my Father is the gardener. Every branch in me that does not produce fruit, he removes. And he prunes every branch that produces fruit so that it will produce more fruit. So I think here, Jesus is saying, if you're following me, where's your fruit? I read, as I was going through this, that there's actually a fruit tree that has 40 different types of fruit growing from it. All the pruning and wedging, and I'm like, you sit there and go, I think I just produced one fruit. Wouldn't it be great to be able to produce 40 fruits for God? So I asked myself in this, am I an ornamental tree? Do I bloom and flower, lose my flowers, and turn green for the rest of summer, maybe providing some shade for some people? Or do my flowers turn into fruit? Does it go from flowers to fruit? It also produces shade, but it produces something that's nourishing, not just for us, but for other people. And I want to show you this time-lapse photo to kind of drive this point home. It's a video of an apple tree from start to finish. And you can see how quickly it's going, and you see the buds. There's the flowering. And then it takes some time. And you can see, eventually, the apples growing from that. Don't you want to take that apple and bite it right now? And I think hopefully there's some apple pie out there. But I think that's an illustration. Where do we stop? Do we stop at the flowering? Do we shut our flowers and not move on? Do I? Or do we continue on and produce fruit in our life? Now, I can say with confidence that my life is sweeter when I put my faith in action. Now, for a second one, why don't I act? Because I'm afraid. I'm worried about others will think. Worried that I'm not good enough. Then I'm reminded of Moses, okay, in Exodus 3:10. God's talking to Moses, and before I read the verse, I think about the situation that Moses is in. He's talking with God, okay, communicating with God. And he's having a discussion with God about how he is not good enough to go on and free the Israelites out of Exodus, okay? So, when we think about not being good enough, I think we need to look at Moses and give ourselves a little grace because, Moses was talking with God. We don't have God right next to us saying you're good enough. So, when we have those doubts, Moses had doubts and God was sitting right next to him. So give yourself some grace with that. And so, through that, he kept saying, how do I do it? How do I do it? And when I'm reading this, I look at from a scientific perception. If I did a scientific translation of this, and I saw that what God was doing to Moses was like potential energy. He was lifting Moses up, and Moses was at the top, okay? And I think that happens when we get into a relationship with Jesus. Jesus lifts us up, and we have potential energy. And the question is, do we convert that potential energy into kinetic energy? Do we have actions? And I think the best way to illustrate this for me is a roller coaster. Okay? And you can show this, and you can see how you get up, and right there's a pause. And that pause is like saying, do I get off or do I continue the ride? And so you go on this ride, and I think sometimes the ride is the excitement in life. We get there, we get to the top, and some of us are, okay, we're good enough. This is good enough for us. But in my life, I know that when I take that pause and think about the ride to come, I get excited. Sometimes I got my hands up, I'm screaming, sometimes I'm holding on for dear life, but I know God is in control of that roller coaster. So I can say that life is thrilling and exciting when I convert God's potential energy in me into kinetic energy. And lastly, sometimes I don't put my faith into action because I don't think it'll matter. I think we've all been there. I'm just one person. How do I make a difference? And I'm going to show a slide, and I think we've all come across this. If you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping with a mosquito. So in our lives, we can be a mosquito. And, I also found that when I put my faith into action, as I'm serving or helping others, I'm actually helping myself. It's one of those great things about how God converts our actions into actually helping people, but also helping ourselves. Because I think it changes our focus from internal to external. We stop thinking about our woes, and we start saying, what else is out there that I can do? I often found that when I'm down, the first thing I think about doing is serving somebody. Because it's really hard to be down and thinking about yourself when you're serving at someone else's feet. So I know that life is fulfilling when I act. And I'm bringing this to a landing, and I just want to say one thing that I didn't say when I talked about being a cyclist, was that as much as the new bike and all the equipment gave me enjoyment from riding, I always started out like I handled running. I handled it because I thought I had to do it. I had to do it to stay in shape. I had to do it to keep healthy. And so I set goals. I said I wanted to ride these many miles. I wanted to ride this fast as an average speed. And when I did it, I was happy, but when I didn't, I was disappointed. Until a few years ago, and I told this to Jenny, and she was surprised. I said, it was one day I said, you know what? I can't do this anymore. I can't ride because I have to. I can't ride because this needs to be done, and I need to stay healthy. So I changed my thinking. I said, you know what? I'm just going to ride to ride. I don't care how many miles I go. I don't care how fast I go. I'm just going to ride to ride. And you know what? That day was the first day I fully enjoyed the ride on my bike. And I think that we can make the same thing with acts and deeds, our faith. God wants us to enjoy our lives. He wants us to live it fully to the richness. Not because he wants us to do something. He wants our faith to have flow into actions, to embrace and enjoy life. And I want to thank you all for listening. As I prepare these messages, I look at all of you as 200 plus therapists out there. As I go through messages, I find that I'm working on myself more than really anyone else. And I hope some of you can, feel what I'm feeling up here. But, I still, after all of this, I still ask myself, if today I was accused of being a Christian, would there be enough evidence to convict me? But maybe the question I need to ask instead of that is, with all that God has to offer, why isn't there evidence in my life? So if you bow your heads, I'm going to pray. Thank you, Lord. Thank you for the openness of everyone sitting here. Thank you for just hopefully speaking through me and not me getting in the way. I thank you for the rain we've got. I thank you for just a place like Fellowship of Faith that we could serve you, honor you, and just glorify you. I praise that throughout this weekend, this 4th of July weekend, we can enjoy fellowship and family and just, again, honor you in our actions and our words. I pray for all the people here and everyone listening online that they are able to go out today and just enjoy what you have to offer. Live an act of faith. It's in your name we pray. Amen. about that as you go. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll turn it over to Bat. I'll take this podium with me since it's kind of, I don't want you to trip over it.
Thanks again, Todd. Get a round of applause. I will say that I'm still probably a little bit on the fence as far as being convinced if you're a cyclist, but I think the one thing that would probably get affirmation for me or reaffirm, I think, what you're trying to give us is if you preach next week in your spandex. You don't know the robe yet. You gotta leave it all out. Let's see.
Welcome back, everybody.
And we're back.
All right, Kyle, thoughts on today?
Yeah, well, let's just go right in order. The veteran suicide talk was pretty moving. Again, we all know the numbers, but sometimes it's hard for us to know what we can do to help. And I think just seeing this today I'm hoping sparks a fire in a lot of people.
Absolutely. I think putting in perspective too, Jen shared the numbers for McHenry County alone, and that definitely puts things into perspective. A lot of times I have a hard time internalizing, like, okay, there's these numbers, but what does that actually look like to hear? And so hearing about that and the encouragement and just the acknowledgement that this is happening to people with PTSD from traumatic experiences in their lives, such as war, but also high school kids. I mean, and it's not talked about enough. And thankfully, I mean, the stigma has definitely diminished in the last 10 to 15 years compared to 20 years ago, but it's still not talked about enough, and definitely something that we need to be aware of and working to improve.
Just being a person to talk to, and then knowing how to move forward and helping.
Absolutely. Yeah. So if you guys are interested in that seminar, that is July 20th and 21st, I believe. Yes, that's a Thursday, Friday. It's here at FOF. It's 2 days, all day. It's $50. There's a break for meals, but there's also some snacks included, and they're going to be giving you training. They'll be talking through kind of looking for the signs, some tools, and how to stage interventions, just a lot of different tactics, and there'll be a lot of the people who are running it are top notch. So that'll be, I'm excited that we're having that here. So.
And then follow that by, a great message on how to not only have faith, but take action with your faith.
Yeah. Todd's really stepping into his element. He's getting more comfortable. I mean, it helps that he's being a little more consistent with preaching, and so he's getting more comfortable. And
relating the message to real life is very important.
Yeah. And I like that he draws on a lot of personal examples of, okay, I'm a cyclist. This is something that some of you may understand, but this is how it relates to my life, and drawing that into his explanation of faith and understanding that. He said a couple of things near the end that I really liked. What was one of them? When he was talking about the mosquito, and one of the things that he said is, I don't put my faith into action because I feel like I don't matter, because I'm so small. And I think similar to the suicide talk, thinking about someone else will take care of it. Like, someone else is going to do that. It's not going to be me. And that's not true, because God is calling each of us. We have different callings on our lives. He's called each of us to do different things and to serve in different ways. And though our actions are not what grants us our salvation, they're a reflection of our faith, which is what saves us. So I think that's so important to remember, that you are the only one who has all the giftings and that you have. God has given those uniquely to you. And so, sure, someone else may be able to step into a situation where you think they may be more equipped, but God is equipping you to step into whatever He's calling you to do, and He wants you to put your faith into action because of what He's doing in your life. So I thought that was a good way to put that. And then finally, his last note of almost switching the question of, would there be enough evidence with all that God has given me and God has to offer, why isn't there any evidence? And I feel like so often, like, that's as the switch I hadn't thought about, is we're always looking for the, okay, but what if? But like, and I'm not doing a good job explaining it in this context, but even just understanding everything in our life should be reflecting and focusing on God. I'm doing a Bible study right now where it's focusing on Western culture versus Eastern culture. And one of the things that they talk about is, in Western culture, we are living our lives and we glance at God. But in Eastern culture, it's your life is focused on God, and you're looking to God, and you glance at the rest of it, and how we need to shift our focus to that, and how that's something that's not prioritized in our culture, I think, and not in the way we live our lives here in the U.S., in the West, you name it. So
that's an interesting perspective. And I can see how that's very, very true and prevalent. I mean, even if we shift it halfway and give more to God, and try and find that balance, I don't do that enough.
Yeah.
So,
it's hard, though. It's hard to make that change, because I've been wanting to do that in my own life, and it's easy. I have an easier time. I mean, working here at FOF, I have more of that flexibility to say, like, okay, if I'm going to be late to work, it's because I'm doing a Bible study. Dave's not going to be like, no. But I think it can be a lot harder in different professions, and just finding that balance within your lifestyle of, how do I prioritize this? How do I put God first in my life, so that I can best serve Him and know Him and be an advocate of who He is. So good stuff today.
Yeah.
Todd's preaching again next week, so we're wrapping up James for week 3. I don't know what section of James, but I'm sure it'll be a good one. So Todd's back next week. Sally Roth, our deaconess intern, is leading 9 a.m. discipleship hour next week.
Good.
So you guys should come check that out. I don't know what she's doing, but I'm excited about it. So she'll be a rock star at that. I'm looking forward to that. Aside from that, other things we got going on, Bible Boot Camp is coming up in the next couple weeks. The registration is open, and we have already had 45 kids register.
Excellent.
Within a week. So that's crazy.
It's
so
a fun time. I know, like I said, my kids love it and look forward to it.
Yeah.
Really excited.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. So we've got a ton of kids registered already. We've got lots of volunteers, but we still have more space, and we are not going to say no to more volunteers. So don't let that deter you if you're interested in participating. And so it's a week-long vacation Bible school essentially here, where the kids are playing Capture the Flag. They're learning chants. And all of it is focused on a Bible story and learning about God and the love that He has for each of us. So I love it. It's great.
And that information is on the website, of
yes.
course.
If you go to our homepage, you can register for that and get information on participating and volunteering. And then finally, too, Charlinda's heading up. That's why I thought of it. The Fiesta Days meetup in McHenry, which is 2 weeks from today at 4:30. There'll be the FOF banner there to meet up with people. I've never been to Fiesta Days. I hope it's fun. So
it's a lot.
Okay, it's a lot. Tell me about it.
It's just a lot. People really turn up for this week-long festivities. Yeah.
Good to know. Yeah. I'm not a Taylor Swift fan, so I have no interest in the Taylor Swift experience, but I hope that speaks to a different cross-section of people.
I'm sure it will. if they're promoting it that way, I'm sure a lot of people will be there.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, all right. Well.
No, that's it. I'm going to go see if it's raining and see what our plan for the day is.
Yeah. Well, it was nice having you back. Good to be back with you on the show.
I guess we'll just be on call.
We'll see when Tina and Justin next aren't here, but
we should just grab the microphones first next time.
We'll just be like, sorry, we called it. So
we're here.
We were here, but no, we're glad that they're taking time away. We appreciate everything they do. I mean, they're here every Sunday with the exception of just a couple times a year, and they're doing this every week. So we're happy to fill in. Great to connect with you guys online, and we will see you guys next Sunday.
Have a great day.
Bye-bye.
See ya.